So we just got finished speaking with Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marceno within the last 20 minutes. Let me go ahead and give you the latest figures that I learned from him. Right now, the death toll in Lee County has risen to 58. That is 58 victims who have passed away due to Hurricane Ian. 7 of those victims have not been identified at this point in time. So investigators are still working to figure out the identity of those 7 people. The sheriff said there have been 909 rescues that have taken place basically all throughout Lee County ever since the storm hit, which was a week ago today. So that is a tremendous number that have been out there. Other figures that we have learned about today, the town of Fort Myers Beach, which is where we are located right now. You may have noticed that we really haven't been able to bring you any coverage from the beach itself. The town leaders of the town of Fort Myers Beach have decided to close off the town for the time being because number one, the roads there are impassable. Number two, there's so much work and so many rescues they still have to and so many places they still have to search for. So that is why the town has been closed off for the time being. As far as Sanibel and Captiva, we did learn that those places, those 2 islands today are now open to first responders and to residents. Again, they have to get there by boat. They have to get there by ferry. The causeway is, of course, still closed, but at least residents can make their way onto those islands if they need to. The other big thing we learned, of course, today is that Pine Island, the road to Pine Island, that temporary road, has been completed. So it is now open to residents. It is open to utility crews and first responders. So that is certainly a big news. Originally, the county leaders had put an estimate that it would be done by this weekend. Here we are on Wednesday, just a week after the storm rolled through, and that temporary road has already been completed. So that is certainly something that county leaders were celebrating. Going back to what Carmine Marceno was saying about the victims there, I did get a chance to ask him, can he kind of gauge, was one particular barrier island hit worse than the other? Did one place have more casualties than another? Here's what he had to say about that.
I don't have a breakdown as to which got hit more as far as death tolls, but I can look at the devastation. Okay, no numbers, but just the devastation. I mean, Pine Island, the barrier islands, Sanibel, Captiva, Fort Myers, you know, it's weird how some houses are standing like they're almost looking like they're untouched, and another one is just sand and 10 inches of rebar.
Another big question we are asking the sheriff is, are there any other people that are out there that are still missing? So here's what he told me. There were 1,600 calls to 911 that were going to be welfare checks. That were folks calling 911 asking they couldn't get a hold of a loved one. Maybe they couldn't get a hold of a relative or a neighbor or something along those lines. As of today, Lee County Sheriff's Office completed all 1,600 of those welfare checks. So there are no more outstanding welfare checks. Now, that does not mean that there are no more unaccounted for people out there. In fact, we know for a fact there are at least 7 unaccounted for people, because you have those 7 people who passed away who they have not identified yet. So there is not an exact number on the total number of people who are unaccounted for at this point in time, but we do know that the Lee County Sheriff's Office did complete all 1,600 of those welfare checks. Again, we are now on, it's been exactly a week since Hurricane Ian hit. A couple more things I want to hit on before I wrap up this report. The sheriff told me that the National Guard is now stationing outposts on some of our barrier islands. So they are stationing at Sanibel and Captiva as well as Pine Island. So that the reason they are doing that is to try to get LCSO off of those barrier islands, and that way they can kind of patrol the other islands, because of course a big county, a lot of work to do there. LCSO deputies still working those Alpha Bravo shifts, they call them, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. These deputies have not had a day off in the last week. So Marceno said that they are actually bringing in outside crews. You may have seen them. You drive around Lee County, you'll see police officers from Miami Beach that are here directing traffic. I saw some from Bay Harbor Islands that are here directing traffic. They're trying to bring in outside resources to try to give some of these deputies a day off. So that way, as he put it, to try to prevent burnout for some of them. So that is kind of the latest updates that we have had today from Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marceno. Of course, we are still working to learn more about all of these details. We're going to be bringing you much more throughout the night, especially here from Fort Myers Beach. But for now, we are live along Fort Myers Beach. I'm Ryan Kruger, Fox 4.